Happy Tuesday, everyone. Bryce Coon here with another episode of the Crowded Booth Live. Ralph Leary and Will Mannis surrounding me today as we get ready for another action-packed show. We thank you for watching, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend. I was talking with the guys. There is no such thing as an offseason in college football. That's what we'll start off with is the big news from the Plains down to Disney World. The Gus Bus drove. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some Major League Baseball pitchers and catchers report this week, and then we're going to round it up with a little bit of the on the college, on the diamond for both baseball and softball, and then we'll wrap it up with our final thoughts question of the night. So Bryce Coon, Ralph, and Will here today. Guys, let's dive right in. The Gus Bus heads down to Auburn. What was it, Will? 5 years, $11.2 million, something like that.
That's down to Orlando.
Orlando, yes. Yeah, sorry. From Auburn to I'm still getting
to the
used
bounce
to it.
house. The bounce house.
To the bounce house. Still getting used to it and everything. I want to get your take as we get into it. Exactly. This is a great hire. This is a fantastic move, but there were parts before that had to come into play here in order, and that started with the athletic director.
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher his last name. Terry Mohajir. I think that's right. I think UCF in all aspects knocked it out of the park. We talk about home run hires. I think these two hires with AD and head football coach are grand slam hires. I mean, I'm so excited. I can't even talk. But Terry Mohajir coming from Arkansas State. I mean, you look at his resume, the coaches he hired there, Gus Malzahn, Hugh Freeze, Brian Harsin, who's now at Auburn, Blake Anderson, who just left and went to Utah State, had several very successful years there, and most recently Butch Jones before he got down to UCF, and he hires Malzahn, so there's that familiarity there, and just like Malzahn going from SEC West, the hardest job in America, to the American Conference. I mean, if you're Gus Malzahn, that's got to make your mouth water thinking about all the success you'll have down there. Probably a guy that's going to have 10 wins a year at UCF.
He's going to have a lot of wins, Will, and he's going to have a lot of tools to play with, most notably Dillon Gabriel. We talked about what he could do with Gabriel at the helm. Listen, I don't want to get into a conversation of who's better, Dillon Gabriel or Bo Nix, but we know what Gabriel can offer, and especially in Malzahn's type of offense. Mm-hmm. This is something where they could get back to, 2016, 2017, when UCF was in the conversation for, a college football playoff appearance.
Yeah, Malzahn, he already mentioned in his press conference he wants to hire a dedicated quarterbacks coach. That he struggled to get one at Auburn. So, this is speculation for me, but he's going to hire a quarterbacks coach, not make him the offensive coordinator. I mentioned familiarity with him and the athletic director. The defensive coordinator that's already been announced, Travis Williams, worked with him the last 5 years at Auburn before being the co-defensive coordinator the last 2 years. He's going to be running the defense. But back to the offensive side, I'm thinking Cody Burns. He's going to bring his guy from Cody Burns, who took the receivers coaching job at UCF under Josh Heupel, and then recently Josh Heupel got him to Tennessee. He might be going back to Orlando. That's what I see. But he's got to get a devoted quarterbacks coach, and like you said, Dillon Gabriel will be awesome in Malzahn's offense.
Gabriel will indeed be awesome. He'll have a lot of talent to work with on the perimeter as well, and a defense in UCF. They're playing in an American Conference, and Ralph, I'll get your take on this, because you go from playing Georgia and Alabama, two top 5 teams every single year. Now your toughest competition, and it's no knock on the American Conference, is going to be a combination of Navy when they're up, Memphis, Houston, Cincinnati, a team that made a New Year's Six bowl. Ralph, when you see this, the pressure is now gone. It kind of feels like for Gus, and if he's not winning 9 to 10, I mean, he could win 9 to 10 games, and it's this is fantastic. Where at Auburn, winning 9 to 10 games got you in trouble some years.
Well, the one thing I've always been saying is that you don't have that standard anymore of you got to beat Bama, you got to beat Georgia, you got to beat A&M, you got to beat all these teams in the SEC every year and compete for the SEC West against the best teams in the country. Now, I'm not saying that Malzahn can't do it because he's the only active coach in the country now with the most wins against Saban. So if you want to knock that down that, he couldn't coach in the SEC, you're just completely wrong. I think Malzahn did a great job at Auburn, and I'm happy for him to go to UCF, not UFC, like he said in his press conference yesterday. But yeah, like you said, the standard's not that high there. He has all they're giving him the full range to do whatever he wants there. He's gonna win 9 to 10 games, like you said, every year. Probably win 12 every once in a while because he's that good of a coach. He has that great of an offensive minded coach. And look what he's done in the past in the Group of Five. When he was at Tulsa's OC with Herb Hand, they had the best offense in the country. And then when he was at Arkansas State, they're a very talented team there. He has great weapons already set up for Dylan Gabriel and the very talented offense that UCF has. And then one day he said, "We're going to recruit Florida better than anyone ever has." So
he's going to have a lot of weapons. Both of you guys touched on it. You talked about the expectations in the press conference. He said he welcomes that. You don't want a job with no expectations because you want that challenge. I wanted to touch on this because I don't know if you guys caught the question, but one of the reporters, he's down in Orlando, one of the TV guys, he asked him, he said, "Do you understand quite what you're getting into with the fan base down here?" And Gus, listen, he was nice about it. He was very nice about it. He said, they're passionate. They got a Waffle House. So that was one of the fans tweeted at him late on, I guess it was Sunday night or whenever this happened, Sunday night, when there was rumors that he would be offered and take the job. But guys, I mean, people have been tearing into that reporter on Twitter and social media because you go from one of the most rabid fan bases in the most crazy conference and one of the biggest rivalries in sports. And you're going to UCF. Now, listen, Orlando is a fantastic market. They love the bounce house. Will, you said it in the beginning. I mean, it is a rowdy crowd, but, I think he's prepared for the expectations that are going to happen when he steps onto campus and kind of gets in with these guys.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to cut the reporter some slack, man. UCF has become I would say, a top 20 program, top 30 easily, top 20 probably the last 4 or 5 years. And that fan base has shown how passionate they are with the success that they've had. They're bought in. They're totally bought in. They are fired up that they're getting Gus Malzahn. And so are the players. And so, just in all aspects, home run, slam dunk, grand slam, all the superlatives you could add to describe this hire.
Will, could you just say boom, honestly?
Just boom.
It's a boom hire.
A newspaper in Auburn, I think, called it Orlando Boom. So that is what happened. We got a first comment already from Russell Forthofer. Russell, we're counting out UConn because UConn is, no longer even a football program, just about. So
they're on UCF schedule.
Yeah, they are on UCF schedule. So we'll see what happens with that.
I took a peek at UCF schedule. I'm not ready to move on quite yet. Mm-hmm. They haven't. So the American has not released their schedule yet. But they have the list of who's on there. They open with Boise State. Now, this connection with Malzahn and Brian Harsin just seems like it's never going to end. Replace him at Arkansas State, and then he goes to Boise State, and now Harsin's at Auburn, and Malzahn gets to play Boise State. Connection probably will never end. And then they play at Louisville, which that's a winnable game for them. UConn, winnable. I say the hardest game on their schedule. They play at Cincinnati. They're also at Navy, which you said Navy could bring in some problems. At SMU, at Temple. They get Memphis at home, East Carolina at home, Tulane and USF at home. I see 10 wins at least right there. So, I mean, he's going to get off to a great start.
He's going to get off to a great start. The weapons, the foundation is there. And he said it. They're going to continue to build on success they already have. Now, Will, when Scott Frost left, they did take a little bit of a step back under Josh Heupel. And you're talking about step back. You're talking about they went from 11 and 12 wins to probably 9 to 10. I mean, that's an upper echelon bowl game, especially for a Group of 5 team. Yeah. You're going to sneak in, and obviously they're a top 25 program. But you really feel like that this team under Gus could be a perennial top 15 contender. Dare I say top 10, but there's no reason UCF, with the way Gus recruits, with the staff he's bringing in, with the weapons UCF employs, you're also we talked about this when we previewed the Peach Bowl earlier this season or earlier this year. Cincinnati is not your typical Group of 5 team. Neither is UCF. You're in a massive, massive market in Orlando. Mm-hmm. You're going to attract Florida, one of the most fertile recruiting beds there is, and hotspots there is in high school football. So do you feel like this team is just perennial top 15? They should be with that expectation going into every season?
Yeah, they should have that expectation. I think when Scott Frost left, a lot of that energy left as well. That could just be personalities, but that was kind of the perception with Josh Heupel coming in, his personality. Now Malzahn comes in and all the success he had at Auburn, that energy's back. And a lot of the players have spoken out how excited they are that he's there. But yeah, and you say Florida, fertile recruiting ground. Everybody knows that. Malzahn has always recruited Florida well. He did. I mean, you look at half of Auburn's roster is probably from Florida. So he knows that state, and we've talked about it, off the show. We rank UCF as the number 3 team in Florida behind University of Florida and just slightly behind Miami. And I would say UCF has recruited just as well as Miami, and Miami has just killed it in the transfer portal to push them ahead of UCF. So there, I don't see how UCF couldn't become the number 1 team in the state. Because Florida, we know they got a lot of question marks. Miami, you never know what they're going to be. Florida State has a long build to go. Malzahn could have just stepped into the number 1 job in Florida in a team that's going to be probably moving out of the American Conference in the next probably 5 to 8 years.
Gus did talk about that as well. I'm sorry, not Gus. The athletic director did talk about that. That question was posed, could this possibly happen? And UCF definitely has the resources. They have the money. They have the potential, all the prospects, you would say, of being a Power 5 program.
I was talking with my dad about it earlier today, and he actually Googled it. UCF has the highest attendance of any university in the state of Florida. I think it was – I'm going to have to be fact-checked. I think it was 72,000 students.
Yeah, they're actually one of the largest universities in the country, UCF is. The largest it's massive. It's a massive – and, Will, you hit the nail right on the head. The excitement in Orlando built around – you don't have an NFL team. You don't have a Major League Baseball team. UCF's it. That's it down there. And so they're going to enjoy that and do well. That kind of parlays into the second part. You talked about the interesting things going on. Okay, so let's break it down here because obviously Danny White and Josh Heupel leave to go to Tennessee. The athletic director from Arkansas State comes to UCF while the old Tennessee coach goes to Arkansas State. Jones. UCF and Boise State play in the first game of the season.
Also, the former Arkansas State and Auburn head coach is now the head coach at UCF.
Yes. It's just an interesting situation.
Yeah.
Weird circle.
So I ruffled some feathers this week with this comment right here. And I'll put it out on the show. Tennessee is in a bad spot when UCF hires an athletic director and a head football coach who I would say are better than the ones that Tennessee hired. And Tennessee took the ones from UCF.
We had it. UCF a winner, the Vols a loser.
Without a doubt.
I'll roll with you on this one, Will, because Danny White has shown the ability to, bring in fundraising. That's what he did at UCF. Yeah. He brought that stuff in. So that is going to be good for Tennessee. Now, so, athletic director-wise, we'll see. But and we talked about this with Tennessee's hire. They had the relationship between Heupel and White. Well, now UCF has that between their athletic director and Gus Malzahn. But I think that UCF got the better head coach. And Heupel wasn't a fan favorite. And I know obviously he left. He wasn't technically – they didn't love him like they loved Scott Frost. And I think the biggest thing, if you watch the press conferences, players and even in staff and administration, they wanted someone who would care about the players beyond the football field. And I think they're going to get that in Gus. And so to me – off the field, Will, this is a massive hire, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Dillon Gabriel, obviously the quarterback gets the most attention. He's made a comment about how, he wanted a coach that cared about him off the field. Tons of players have said it. That's what they're getting in Gus Malzahn. You look at Auburn the last couple of years, they've come up short. But, man, that football team never quit on Gus Malzahn. And I think that comes from loving the coach, loving the man who is the coach and believing in him. And just because they know that he believes in them. And that's just who Gus Malzahn is. That's how he is as a coach. And I think that translates to tons of wins on the field. That's why it took so long for Auburn to move on from him. Just aside from his, the success he had on the field and some years a little bit lack of, but everybody believed in him. He has this innate aspect about him that everybody just rallies around him. Players, fans, administration, everybody rallies around him. Everybody loves him as a person. So UCF's getting a grade A football coach, but they're getting a grade A+ person.
They're getting a grade A person, and you talked about what he can bring off the field. I think that's what's huge. I mean, he's going to care about the players. Ralph, we saw the outpour on Twitter after he was let go from former players and current players. And then now with the hire, we see what they say there were players that are now in the NFL that are still at Auburn that had just graduated from Auburn this year. Gus has this, this legacy. And listen, he gets a bad rap because of the down years we're going to say that Auburn had. But to me, man, I'm telling you, I love this hire. You talked about it. When you saw the outpouring on Twitter from former players, Ralph, does that just kind of say all you need to say about it and what they thought about Gus is not only as a coach, but as a man?
Oh, yeah, I mean, easily. I think one I keep thinking of right now is Darius Slayton. He was former Auburn receiver. Now he's in the Giants right now. He's doing a great job there. And he obviously loved Gus Malzahn. He gave him a chance to play and, gotten to where he is now in the NFL. And, he really respects him and, cares a lot about him. And I know, obviously he's an Auburn guy, but I'm sure he'll be pulling for UCF in games this year. And, even speaking about former Auburn players, one that visited Auburn last week was Derek Brown. He came and saw Brian Harsin, met with him for the first time, and he said he's really excited for this team. I saw that on Instagram and Twitter. And, there's a lot of things that's happening around the Plains and down in Orlando that are very good for the future for both those programs. And I know we're talking about Tennessee also, and I just want to say this thing about UCF. They got a winner down there. In Tennessee, I don't care who you got. You're walking into a dumpster fire of a program right now.
Yeah, Tennessee's hurt by kind of what everything is going on. And when you look, guys, at let's just say the 5-year plan for both of these programs and the trajectory they're on, to me, UCF is, if they were in the SEC East, they're the number 2-3 team in the SEC East, depending on kind of what happens. If their program, the brand name, we get so caught up in brand names of programs. It's like Tennessee or the Vols. Okay, well, that was 25 years ago. Like that's when that happened. UCF, what they're doing from a marketing standpoint, charge on, the hashtags, the uniforms they bring out. Listen, they're recruiting at a higher clip than Tennessee is, and they're developing at a little bit better clip. I feel
the claim of the national championship from 2017. That's a big deal. That's a big deal for recruiting.
And when you talk about recruiting, what they're able to do, I mean, Gus and players are going to look now and say, listen, this is a guy who, and Gus said it. He said when he saw this team in 2017, he told his staff, if they can bring in a guy who will just stay, doesn't use this as a launching pad, this program would be one of the top programs in the country consistently. But because they have that, leapfrog effect, that jumping launching pad effect, that's what kind of leads to some inconsistency. So, guys, when you look at a 5-year program, is there any question who's the winner in this? Will, I'll give it to you first.
No question. It's UCF without a doubt. And you talk about a guy staying. Will Malzahn stay for a long time? But it's hard to say. I mean, if he's winning 11, 12 games a year, those bigger schools with deeper pockets are going to come calling. And, I know it's easier for him to take this job now because he's got $21 million or roughly about $11 million now still on the way coming from Auburn after he already got $10 million of it. It's easy to take a job like this, because he's got the financial security. He doesn't need the money, but money talks. We see it all the time.
Yeah, he's definitely sitting on a nice stack of money right now with the Auburn buyout money and what he's got going on now. Ralph, 5-year outlook. I mean, I don't want to get into a conversation of could a group of 5 team, and Gus said it, we know what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to schedule a top 10 non-conference opponent to get that respect. Whether a team accepts that challenge or not remains to be seen. But I would say UCF's better set up to at least – UCF's going to reach more New Year's Six bowl games to me than Tennessee in the next 10 years. All right, and 10 years is a long time, but I would say 10 years, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, even if we did 5 years, I believe UCF gets to more New Year's Six bowls in the next 5 years than Tennessee does at all. I think they can go 5 or 5 for New Year's Six bowls, honestly, with the team they have now and the recruiting they're doing. And we talk about recruiting real quick. UCF might recruit the best from the state of Hawaii than anyone. I mean, they got I'm pretty sure the best 2 quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Mackenzie Milton, were both from Hawaii. They also have a 4-star currently committed to them and signed to them from Hawaii. So recruiting for UCF is huge in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, maybe a little southern version of Alabama, and Hawaii. You don't see many schools from the East Coast coming in, jumping in, going to Hawaii and going to recruit. So Gus is probably going to be jumping on that train also, going down there. And, I like that UCF's got a better 10-year outlook than Tennessee does. I think I just think they will. I mean, there's just a lot more weapons already there for him, and he can just build off with all the momentum he's got going with now.
They're going to be able to build off the momentum, and he talked about it. They're really going to focus on recruiting in Florida, but like you said, they have. When you play NCAA 14, we're going to get to talk about that a little bit later. But you establish those pipeline states, and I think Hawaii with quarterbacks might be one of those. With the two quarterbacks they've brought out, so an interesting develop. Gus, this is a grand slam hire for me, in my opinion. When you look at this. And then when you also kind of look at what Auburn fans, I think you're going to learn to appreciate. Not that Harsin's not going to be the guy, but not going to take Auburn. We don't know that. But Gus is going to have quicker, immediate success at UCF than Brian Harsin will have at Auburn. I believe that.
No doubt.
And Will, correct me if I'm wrong. There's going to be some times in this season, maybe next year, where they're like, oh, do we make that right decision? No, and that's not a knock on Brian Harsin. I think he's going to, eventually, but he's got to get that foundation for Auburn. Yeah,
absolutely. He's got a lot of work to do. Gotta make some inroads in recruiting, kind of shrink that talent gap that's there. But with his two biggest rivals, Alabama and Georgia, how unfortunate is that? You get this new awesome job at Auburn. Auburn's a great job to view nationally, and you got to play and recruit against Georgia and Alabama every year, and they're probably at the best that both of their football programs have ever been in the history of the programs.
Yeah, you have two of the. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We're going to take a break here and go to commercial, and we would come back. We're going to go all things on the diamond, from Major League to Atlanta and down to the college ranks. We will be back right after this message.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
We are back here. We're going to talk a little bit about the baseball world. But before we do, pitchers and catchers report. And Ralph, I did not forget, I purposely moved this to the middle of the show because it does follow with what we're talking about.
I think that's one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this. I want to get your opinion, the question of the day, because you were probably like, oh my gosh, Bryce, what in the world happened to the famous question of the day that always puts everybody on the spot and never knows what they're going to say? So I got it for you right here. With pitchers and catchers reporting this weekend, baseball going to start back up, what is your best ballpark food item? Now, we're going to go with traditional here. We're not going to go with, your loaded nacho, or I'm sorry, your loaded tots or your massive pizza that they had at Turner Field, like right before it closed. I don't know if they still have that at Truist, but we're going to go with like your typical foods. Like
so we're throwing out like the roasted cricket they have in Seattle.
Nothing. No roasted crickets or chocolate-covered cockroaches. We're just going to go straight into your typical ballpark food. Ralph, I'll give this one to you first, man. If you're going to the ballpark, what you going to have? What is your menu item that you're like, I got to have it every single time I go?
I think it's a hot dog. I mean, it's just a traditional ballpark food. You think of ballpark Franks, you think of ballpark dog. I mean, it's just simple. I mean, I go to a Braves game, I get a foot-long hot dog. It's the best thing on the menu to me. I mean, now obviously, Truist has got a ton of different things going on over there. They got tons of new items that are really good. I'm sure that I hadn't had a chance to try anything really new besides a hot dog there because it's a little expensive. But that's just what I roll with every time. A hot dog and then probably a beer. So
hot dog is a good item to have. If you are from the LA area, a Dodger dog is going to be a good way to go. I'm a guy that likes the mustard on the hot dog, but Will, before I give you mine, what are you rolling with? You going with a hot dog as well, or you got another item you like?
I'm a hot dog guy too, but maybe it's an addiction, a secret addiction I have. But man, popcorn! I always find myself buying a box of popcorn at a baseball game too.
You going to popcorn? I'll throw this too. Now, if you're at a ballpark in Atlanta, okay, and you see the guy coming up, we'll say Cobb County because we all know that's really where it is. But we'll go, it's Sandy Springs area. But if you are going at a Braves game and it's July, like my girlfriend and I went to a game probably, I guess obviously it was 2 years ago, and it was like a July game. I mean, it was hotter than all get out. This was actually 3 years ago. And the guy comes up there and he's calling out, ice cold, the lemonade, the frozen lemonades. Those things absolutely slap on a hot day at the ballpark. But I'm going to go with a different one. I'm a big pretzel guy. But I like nachos. I like nachos. Nachos are a good item, but don't give me just the cheese. Like I'll throw some jalapenos on there, and we're good to go. But if it's a hot day, you got to go with the frozen lemonade. That is absolutely fantastic. We got some comments I want to see. Here we go. We got Rick Gordy watching over on YouTube. A Fenway Frank. Rick, I've had one. It's been about 10 years since I had one. That is a very, very good menu item up at one of the most historical ballparks in the country. Russell, a bratwurst all day. That is a very good one. It is the superior wiener. We will let your imaginations stop you there. But listen, we appreciate the comments on that one. I think that when you get into ballpark food, guys, we've gotten into some more distinguished type of ballpark foods. Like for Atlanta, for example, they have some good barbecue and in Atlanta. Fox Brothers Barbecue is right up there. That's a good one to get some food. And, if you don't want the traditional but it does cost, like Rob said, you're going to walk out of there. You might pay $25 for a nosebleed ticket, but you're going to spend another $25 in at least food and beverages. And even probably even more. So that's going to be there. We have Johnny Courtney Coon. You're going to go with the popcorn and Cracker Jacks. Will, you're on the popcorn. I'm not a big Cracker Jack guy. It's in the song.
Not either.
I want to get your take. Both takes. Will's going with his. Ralph, are you a Cracker Jack guy, or are you just like, oh, it's cool that the song's in there, or it's in the song?
I'm not a big Cracker Jack guy, but I do need to give my dad a shout out because he's a big peanuts guy, and he will buy him a bag of peanuts at the game and eat those probably before the third inning's over with. And,
so he is addicted to those. You're saying?
Oh, and the thing is, it's something about peanuts in a baseball game that just does it for him. So he'll have about 2 bags of peanuts before he leaves a baseball game easily.
Okay, I'll ask this question. Boiled peanuts or just regular peanuts?
He's a regular salted peanut guy. I'm a boiled peanuts guy, though.
I can eat both, but boiled peanuts are
both. I love
both. I'm also both, but I'm more of a boiled peanut guy.
I think he's watching because I got the list right here of who's watching. Josh Brown, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago, to everyone's surprise, he said this is the best place to get boiled peanuts. Not at a game, but from that guy who's selling them on the back of his truck.
Oh,
off of random Highway 33 in Columbus somewhere, not even in Georgia somewhere in the mountains. Those are the best, and he's just got a big old pot back there on an open fire.
Have y'all ever gotten it from the guy? I think
this is for our Columbus
Florida.
viewers, by the way. Oh no, you're going Florida.
I think he's in Florida. Yeah, it's on the way going to Panama City. There's always a guy with a big stand. I don't know his name.
Is it in Dothan, like right outside of Dothan?
It might be. I think it's Dothan.
Going into the state line. Yeah, there's a guy.
Yeah.
And two, I'm the kind of person that I'll always stop. I'm hyper like that. So we have a guy that is in Midland for the Columbus viewers, right next to where you get on Warm Springs Road off of Flat Rock Road. People know what I'm talking about. There's a guy during the summertime. He sits there. Now he'll sell boiled peanuts. He'll sell all of these other kind of things. I'm telling you, when you look at what he's got, watermelon, some good cantaloupe, and some boiled peanuts. Stopped many times during the COVID crisis to get myself some boiled peanuts that I'm probably sure had COVID all over him from the way the man looked like he hadn't taken a shower in a long time. Hopefully he's not watching.
Wow.
But
throw him under the bus.
You
can't shout somebody out and then throw him under the bus.
Throw him under the bus. We got another comment from Patsy Lane Leary. From the Peanut Gallery, the Learys get it honest. Yes. They sure do. Ralph, I won't fault your dad on that one because just regular salted peanuts are fantastic, but you got to have a drink with it. Because if you just eat the peanuts, you're gonna it's gonna be terrible. But yeah, that's our question of the day. We love these. It's a lot of fun. We're gonna move on to some actual baseball conversation now. It's 2021 is here, folks. We talked about this. I kept the same thing. The early outlook for Atlanta, obviously they brought in Marcell Ozuna, kind of lengthens out the lineup. They have that power bat that they wanted. Justin Turner goes back to the Dodgers. Turner would have been a fantastic addition to Atlanta's lineup, but for that amount of money, I'm not. When the contract details came out, I was like, "Yep, that's okay, and it makes sense."
Bryce, let me ask you. If the Braves were going to get Turner, what would you have done with Austin Riley?
Yeah, and see, that's the tough part. Like Austin Riley would have been. It's kind of a catch-22 because Austin Riley, to me, we've talked about this. He has the potential to be that fourth or fifth hitter in a lineup. I mean, he's going to be he. That's what his ceiling is. He's going to be a big bopper. To me, he could hit 25, 30, maybe 35 home runs a year. He's got, as Chipper Jones said at spring training a long time ago, that light tower power. If you did sign him, to me, it would have just been for 1 year. And the only reason I think that they would have is because there's still some rumblings around that the players are trying to get that DH deal in effect before the season starts. If they did, that would have been okay, because then you could have said, okay, if Marcell wants to be the DH, you throw Riley in left. If Turner's DH, you put Riley at third. But while it would have made the lineup, to me, I mean, it would have made it very dominant. I think I'm still fine with how they are, and that's what I was going to say. I think I'm still fine with how this team's constructed offensively, where they're going to go, because now you're going to let Riley develop at his own pace still, because the guy still has not played a full season. Let's remember that. He came up in the middle of May in 2019, and then he played for 2 months in 2020. So if my math's correct, he only has one full season, and that's spread out between half of 2019 and 2 months there in 2020. But for you guys, Will, we'll start with you. I mean, it didn't hurt my feelings. We'll continue the conversation. I think Austin Riley can develop at his own pace here, whether it's in the 6th, 7th hole, and be that power bat in years to come.
Yeah, Riley to me looks like one of those guys, and the Braves have a lot of them. We've seen it with the pitchers. If you throw him in AAA, he's going to dominate. I mean, it's great he's getting at bats, and for these pitchers, like we've seen Kyle Wright go down to AAA and just put up ridiculous numbers, like a 1.5 ERA in 2 months in AAA, and then come over to the big leagues and just gets shelled every outing. Just showing how big that gap is. Like, it's great he goes down there and gets at bats. That definitely helps him. But if he's just out there, it's like batting practice for him. I don't think he's getting all that much better. He's one of those guys, he's got to get big league at bats to get better. And I think we can say this is an Austin Riley show. We all love Austin Riley. We want to see him be great. We want to see him be great in the Braves uniform. So I, for one, am glad that the Braves are sticking with him. They didn't go get a third baseman because Riley can be that guy.
He can be that guy, Ralph. When you look at what Riley can do, I'm going to throw it over to you, now. He has the potential, but did it hurt your feelings to not see Justin Turner come to Atlanta?
No, not really. I think one guy that the Braves got that really no one's talked about really, they got Jason Kipnis. You know, he's gonna be that good left-handed bat off the bench, and obviously he's not playing third, but he adds a little bit of pop off the bench for the Braves this year, and I know I'm excited for him. I like Jason Kipnis. I've always been a Kipnis fan. Just watching him play from the Indians to the Cubs a little bit. But losing out on Turner is not that big of a deal to me because I know Riley can do what he's done in the past. He plays great defense. I thought he's played terrific defense this past year. I know I said a comment, I'm pretty sure back in August, he made an error on a routine ground ball, and I said, if you're going to play Major League Baseball, you got to make routine ground balls daily. I know sometimes that it makes a weird bounce, or it can you overplay it. It happens, but it's like when it comes to NBA, to me, is free throws should be automatic. You practice those every day, should be automatic with them. Ground balls should be automatic. So I think Riley's going to develop as a hitter hopefully this year. I know him and a little bit all speed pitch has been kind of rough lately, but he's a great hitter when he gets a chance, and he's put the bat on the ball very well this past year and a half, or year he's played really. So I'm excited to see him develop this year full time, and help the Braves win this year.
Yeah, he's going to continue to develop. He's going to be a key and integral piece to this lineup, guys. When you look at the rotation, we talked about this. I think that it still has the potential to be one of the best in baseball. You added a veteran and a guy you didn't. So this is the difference. They added Charlie Morton, but they did not just add Charlie Morton as like, this is not like when they, and this is going to really go, this is going to go back a little bit, but like when they added like Ben Sheets or, or like a guy that at the end of spring training to come and just stabilize. Like Charlie Morton is actually like good. Like he's still really good, and he's gotten better as he's aged too. And so I think that's what's big too. So when you look at what the rotation has, obviously with whatever Soroka's timeline, I that part is still that's still a strong suit, and you got to believe those guys are going to get better and they're going to gain more experience.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be the lone man on this one. The Braves rotation presents a lot of question marks to me. I'm getting a lot of 2019 feelings about them. Soroka being out worries me a lot. I mean, I think he was definitely the ace of the staff. Fried really stepped up last year. And I think he'll do great this year. But we know Max Fried. We know when his curveball is working. I mean, he's untouchable. But he'll have those outings regular season like he had in was it Game 5, Game 6, his second start against the Dodgers. They teed off on him because his curveball it wasn't there. I love Charlie Morton. I love the addition. Hopefully he's still good. And this is something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. So if I'm wrong, correct me. He's reuniting with Mike Fast, who he worked with very closely with Houston that kind of got him going again. So that will probably be good for him. Drew Smiley to me feels like a weird addition. I mean, this is a guy who's been mediocre at best, I would say, most of his career. Had a really good year last year, pitching mostly in relief with the Giants. And Braves kind of threw a lot of money at him. I thought they threw a lot of money at him. And I think he's going to be kind of a swing guy anyway. He'll be in the rotation until Soroka comes back. Then he'll move to the bullpen, which I think he's best suited for the bullpen at this point. And then, man, we talked about it last week. I'm very concerned about the bullpen with Mark Melancon going to San Diego, even at the price he was at. I mean, I think the Braves should have brought him back for that. You know, Will Smith was signed to be the closer. He struggled, had COVID last year at the start of the year, and then struggled when he was pitching. And Melancon closed again. Melancon's been great in that role with the Braves, and I would have loved to have seen him back just as some insurance because, you know, I haven't seen a lot out of Will Smith in a Braves uniform. I know how good he is and has been in the past, just haven't seen it in a Braves uniform. And everybody knows I love Luke Jackson, but I don't think I want him to be the closer for a full season. He was great in 2019 when he had to step into the role, did a heck of a job, but I don't want to see him closing every ball game.
Yeah, Luke Jackson has his value in that 6th and 7th inning role. And, you know, I'll say this because this is the conversation among Braves fans that just is crazy. Luke Jackson, people didn't like him as the closer because he didn't come in and go 1, 2, 3. And I get that. Like he wouldn't do that. He'd give up a double, and if it was more than a 1-run lead, he may have give up a run, but more often than not, he got the job done. It just wasn't in a Mariano Rivera type way or a Billy Wagner type way where it just was like shut down 1, 2, 3.
But hey, he was the only guy that was getting outs in the 9th inning.
Yeah, I mean, that was the. If correct me if I'm wrong, I think Sam Freeman was still a Brave at the beginning of 2019. So that's how bad the bullpen was.
They threw him out there in the 9th inning sometimes before they finally DFA'd him and got him out of there. But, you know, I said it in 2019. I thought Jackson kind of had earned the right to keep in that closer role, but the front office brought in Shane Green and Mark Melancon. Shane Green was the first man to try it out there in the 9th, and he had his struggles. And Mark Melancon came in and nailed it down and kept it until he went out the door to San Diego. And Shane Green is still a free agent, right? He hasn't signed with anybody. So
he's still a free agent.
He's an option. Just insurance at this point. And you know, I know bullpen arms are kind of a dime a dozen, but man, you need outs late in the ball game. I want somebody out there that's been there and done that. And Melancon's gone to San Diego. And San Diego, by the way, I want to touch on them for a second. They signed another reliever that's been a closer. They signed Keone Kela today. They're going for it. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about the rest of the league in a minute, but I love San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego has arguably overhauled their entire pitching staff from the bullpen to the rotation this past year. I want to read off some names because these are some names that I think the Braves are banking on. Obviously, they brought back Josh Tomlin, who's nothing more than just a mop-up guy to eat some innings if you're getting blown out or you're blowing somebody out.
And he's a pitching coach.
And a pitching coach, yeah.
Exactly.
Sean Newcomb, listen, at 6'5", 260, if he's got the control, he's got two great pitches. Yeah, he's a big guy. He's a big guy.
When he moved to the bullpen, I was very impressed with him. He pitched really well in relief.
Another one to keep your eye on, a hard-throwing righty who spent a majority of the 2019 season towards the end or beginning on the IL and then spent a little bit on the time of the IL in 2020 was Jacob Webb. He's a guy who got some looks toward last year. That would be an option. Grant Dayton, we saw him kind of in a mop-up role. But I think your big ones we guys were talking about, that back end, who could you rely on? The thing that I guess kind of scares people is it's a lot of lefties. You know, you got Newcomb, you have Tyler Matzik, who you got to believe, hopefully he just was not catching lightning in a bottle. Yeah. Obviously, Luke Jackson and then Will Smith. Will, you talked about, and we've talked about this. If you look at the back of the baseball card, your hope is that he's going to average out and be that kind of fringe all-star type of reliever that we know he is. The one that intrigues me, and I've looked at this more because I'd love to pose this, and obviously this is not a Braves-centric show, but we are 90 miles from the stadium, so we'll talk about it. AJ Minter, when you go back and look at what he did against the Dodgers, he can pitch to both sides. Like he's not, and I'll say this for those who may not know, a loogie is what we used to call it, is a lefty-only guy. Like he's only going to come in and face lefties. Well, now with the new 3-batter minimum rule, you have to be able to face both sides. To me, AJ Minter showed in that 3-inning outing against the Los Angeles where he dominated. He may be a guy that you could throw against a righty and feel comfortable, but you do have Chris Martin. I would love one more righty, and if that is Shane Green, I wouldn't mind now that Melancon's gone. Maybe look at Trevor Rosenthal, but a lot of people are feeling like he could price himself out of the Braves depending on what they have left. But it's rumored that they're going to have maybe about $13 million left to play with and kind of see what they're going to do.
Another depth guy that's an option that we've seen and had a little success at the big league level. It's a guy when he's on, he's unhittable. The big, tall Chad Sabatka. I mean, when he's on, he's blowing it by you in the upper 90s. He relies on
power
sinker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, power sinker. He relies on that. When it's not sinking, it stays right in the middle of the plate, and we've seen guys just tee off on it. But when he's on, man, he's hard to hit. I would love to see him bounce back.
Yeah, he's going to be hard to hit. And also, I don't want to mess his name up, so I'm probably saying it wrong, but Huascar Ynoa, if Ynoa or however they're going to say his name, he's a guy who can throw triple digits. He can hit triple digits. So I think in importance, they have it. They have options.
They're just unproven.
Yeah. And Ralph, I wanted to hit this too before we go to kind of a league-wide thing. Obviously, the transactions, they did bring in Jason Kipnis. I kind of like that, a veteran guy. And two, he's a guy that could spell Ozzie at second, which is kind of interesting as well, because I know Johan Camargo, while he's a great defender over at third, you didn't love how smooth he played at second. But did you guys see that play that he made in the Winter League over at third base?
Look, you get me too excited to be on a live show, bringing up the Panamanian Prince, the face of the Braves.
Camargo, he has hitter and Kipnis.
He has been awesome in winter ball. I mean, he is tearing it up. He looks like he's primed and ready to make a real push for a roster spot opening day.
Mm-hmm. And two, you got to think, Will, Kipnis is a former All-Star, and he's a guy who has a short swing. Maybe he helps Camargo out. Another signing that we have not really touched on, but he's a fireballer as well. If they can, this would be a waiver wire pickup, the kind that you make in fantasy that propel you to a championship. Carl Edwards Jr. If he can find some consistency with his control, that could be an interesting option. So I'll say this: we talk about it, and Will, you say, I feel uneasy about how the bullpen, and I'm kind of uneasy too. But with him, if that's something that works out, that could be a very, very big piece of how they go forward. Also, this week they claimed Travis Demeritte off of waivers from the Detroit Tigers. So there's another utility guy I'll tell you this: Demeritte's got pop. He was in the AAA Home Run Derby the year before he was traded from Atlanta. And one last thing is obviously the spring training invites. That's what we started off talking about. Some notable names on that list: Drew Waters, who will get a long look at making a roster spot. Some pitchers as well: Victor Vognick, Freddie Tarnock, some guys. A guy that I love to see, and we all love to see, he was on the show last time, and he'll be coming on the show before they play their first game, is Trey Harris. He'll be, he was the 2019 Player of the Year for the Braves in the minor league, jumping from all the way from single A to the cusp of AAA. He was so close to that call-up in AAA. So there's some big names on that list, including Ralph, your favorite guy, Shea Langmuir. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Shea's great. Victor Vodnick's a guy whose name I've been kind of following last couple of years. A lot of upside with him, right-handed pitcher. He made it to high A, I think, last year. Or the year before, I guess, because there was no minor league last year. He'll probably
the now defunct Florida Fire Frogs.
Yeah, what a great name! What a great name! They got rid of all the good name minor league teams, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But Victor Vodnick, he'll start in Mississippi. You think probably?
Yeah, he was actually slated to start in Mississippi this past season, so he'll probably get a look there. And if he struggles, maybe what is now High A Rome. I think that's how we're going to go with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people that really follow Braves prospects hard are really high on him.
We have some comments that are off of our page, but are going to be off of my post, who's hosting the watch party right now. Josh Brown, if the Braves sign Markakis, Marcell could have the opportunity to be one of the best super utility guys in major leagues.
I'm with you, Josh.
Braden
agree.
Shoemake is going to take Dansby's job this year.
Nick Markakis. Josh, you got to fact check me because I get my numbers mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than Ichiro, right?
Oh boy.
Oh,
Doesn't he have more doubles than Ichiro?
he kind of is.
Hey, and he won a Gold Glove. He won a Gold
did.
Glove.
Yeah. The same person that said last week on the show that Gold Gloves do not matter, but that's fine. That's fine. That's
They
Will
matter.
Ferrell.
They matter when they're for the person that I like. And I like
Okay.
Marcell Ozuna, but I love Nick Markakis.
Josh Brown comes in. He goes, the
Great
wife is
job,
yelling at
right
me.
there.
He's got to go. So Josh's wife is yelling at him. We appreciate Josh. We'll have to bring
Thank you,
you on
Josh.
again.
Rein
But
him
that's
in,
just-
Nikki.
That was just, guys, kind of a preview of the whole Braves roster. We went through right there. And the last 15 minutes, we'll talk a little bit about the league, and then we'll go over just a tad bit to talk some more. But Josh Brown did say, Will, for your information, that he is a better WRC plus than Ichiro. So for all these
There you
stats nerds that are in group chats all across the country that love that stuff, and Ichiro never went to Young Harris, so he didn't get to experience the
Right.
mountains of North
boy.
Georgia. So
Right.
listen, the Braves are going to have a fun, exciting year. Yes, Josh, please get off the stream. You can keep it open for the views; that would help us. But you can just go deal with whatever you need to. Let's talk some bold predictions in Major League Baseball this season. I want just one or two from you before we bounce into kind of our picks for each division and kind of the playoffs. So we'll just go divisions. But what's a bold prediction? What are you going to go with, Will? What is something that you think will happen in 2021? It doesn't have to be who you think is going to win the World Series. Maybe it's an individual performance. Maybe it's Nick Markakis hits 40 home runs. What is your
Definitely
bold
not.
prediction for 2021?
Definitely not. I'm going to go with a team prediction here. And it's not as bold as I initially wanted to be, but I think it's still pretty bold. I think the Chicago White Sox are going to win the American League Central under Hall of Fame manager. That's right. Actual Hall of Fame, not potential Hall of Fame. Tony La Russa. He's going to lead them.
La Russa.
Okay. Also, by the way, interesting fact about Tony La Russa. You know, he was hired by the White Sox in 1979 originally.
Yes.
He was they made him the youngest manager in baseball, and in 2020,
Yes.
whenever they hired him, they made him the oldest manager in baseball.
Yeah.
And they fired Rick Renteria because he couldn't connect with younger players, but an older La Russa can. I don't know. They're good. They're going to win the AL Central.
You're going with the White Sox to win the AL Central. I
Over the
love
Twins.
that pick.
Over the Twins.
Luis
Yes.
Robert would have been the AL Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for the magnificent effort of Kyle Lewis in Seattle.
La Pantera.
Mhm.
Little Spanish boy.
And they still have a very good farm system coming up with a bunch of
Oh,
good
yeah.
arms. Ralph, what is your bold prediction? Ralph, this could be your Instagram moment. We've yet to get you on there. What is your bold prediction for the Major League Baseball in 2021?
I don't know if it's to be bold. I tweeted about it on Valentine's Day. So the Phillies will finish fourth in the NL East. The sheer fact they didn't like my tweet, I'm kind of pissed at them. So
Whoa.
That's not an Instagram moment, but it's okay.
that's fine. It doesn't need to be Instagram. I'll wait for mine later on. But that's just a little hatred toward them for not liking the tweet I put out for their Valentine's Day post. But you know what? It is what it is. Yeah, Phillies will finish fourth place behind the Braves and the Mets and the Nationals.
So you're going,
Man, they're going
Wow.
to be better than the Marlins?
that's
Yeah.
rough.
I think they have better
Wow.
hitting than the Marlins, honestly.
That's some shade to the Fish, man. The Fish are going to be good.
Oh.
Their starting rotation, man, if they take the next step, they're going to be right back in the playoffs. I mean, they've got Sixto Sanchez, Jordan Yamamoto, Sandy
Mhm.
Alcantara. That's a three-headed monster.
Bryce, pause
That's it.
Jackson's comment real quick.
Let's see. The Marlins are going to win the World Series. That's just because he's a Florida person. And Drew Haywood with the Red Sox are going to sneak into
I
the
like that call,
playoffs.
rather. I believe
Wow.
that too. In a wild
Sneaky,
card,
very sneaky. Very
It would
sneaky.
That's slowly
sneaky.
there.
That's for sure.
So-
that is for sure.
I was going to be bold. My first thought, I was going to be bold, but I kind of backtracked because I was going to say the Blue Jays will make the playoffs and win a playoff series, but they're going to have to be a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
And so, are they going with a 3-game series for the wild card? like they
I
were
think
last
so.
year?
Can't
Or is it
really
going to be a
It's
one
still
game?
expanded wild card or playoffs. So yes.
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
expanded.
Okay,
so
well
same
then,
thing.
okay,
Mhm.
all right, there you go. That's my other bold prediction. The Blue Jays will win a playoff series, and then they'll
You're
probably
gonna-
lose to the Yankees in the ALDS.
I'm going to go with right there. The Braves and Mets will battle for the East. I think that
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
those are the top two teams in the National League East, no doubt about it. I think my bold prediction will be that the Blue Jays will win the East. If we're going to be bold,
Ooh.
let's go out there and be bold. I'm not like that's
Where's Russell?
if you're going to be bold. If you're going to be bold, I'm going to go with that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to destroy them, but listen,
Where's Russell?
the Blue Jays, they've got some talent and they've shored up that pitching staff. And if Nate Pearson is anything like he is in a video game, then he's going to be unhittable and they'll be fine.
Yes,
Oh,
I would
God,
say the
no.
Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have had the second best offseason behind the Padres. If look,
And the
Mets
Padres are going to
Braves-
win the West. I'm going with that one too.
Ooh,
I'm going to say the Padres. I'm more comfortable
Wow.
saying the Padres will win the West over LA because San Diego's pitch, like their rotation is filthy. Like it's absolutely filthy. And it's better than, San Diego's rotation is better than
Wow.
Toronto's.
Oh, okay.
Not LA's. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm comparing
Okay.
those two teams.
Oh boy.
So obviously LA's is good and they have the talent. They're there, but I'm going to say that that's going to be a fun race to watch down into the dog days of August. And as we get into the pennant race, that's going to be a fun one. So there's my bold prediction. We're going to move along here to some previews.
so
of
the
picks.
Mets,
Go ahead.
Mets
Go
and
ahead.
Braves were brought up. I think we need to talk about the projections, Pacoda
Yeah.
and Fan. Which first off, projections are conservative. They
Mhm.
are every year. Pacoda has the Braves winning 82 games. I know we're biased, but that's really low. Fangraphs had the Braves at 89. I think that's very fair. I think the Braves will win maybe 91, maybe. But they had them behind the Mets. They're projecting the Mets to win 91. The Mets, man, I just don't have faith in the Mets. They can't stay healthy. That's the same. Mets are going to Met. And Syndergaard is coming back. You know, that'll boost them up. Stroman's coming back on the qualifying offer. They've got Jacob deGrom, best pitcher in baseball. They bring in Francisco Lindor. They're going to be good. They're going to be fun to watch if they can stay on the field.
If they can stay on the field, that'll be the big thing. I didn't want to miss a comment because we appreciate everyone for commenting here. Tyler Askew, he's going to throw in the comment and it's loading for him, but I'll say it. They have the talent for sure, but the sad thing is they are a Georgia team, and we all know what happens to Georgia teams in the playoffs, talking about the Braves. And then Lindsey Vining, she's going to come in with a comment of the Braves take it this year if they beat the Mets. If they can get past the Mets, depending on what happens out in the West, we could see what could happen. But, guys, I want to get – and there's the comment right there. It comes in. But I want to get your take. Real quick, rapid fire. We did this during the postseason when it was all three of us at Will's house. So I'm going to point, and you just tell me, okay? NL East champs. Are we all good, Braves?
Yep.
Braves.
To me, you can't – you go to Will, to piggyback off what you were saying, you can't say that somebody else is the favorite until they've proven it, or the team that has won has not proven it. And the Braves, to me, have proven they're still the best team. Until the Mets come in and dominate, then the Braves are still the best team. A little bit of an unbiased opinion. Central. Who's winning the NL Central? Will, don't say the Pirates.
Who are you pointing?
Go, Will. Will, we'll go you
No.
first.
So where are you pointing to?
Oh, man.
This is rapid fire.
This is going to
Rapid
be
fire.
this is,
We only got
this
7 more minutes of programming.
is going to be the tightest division in baseball, I think, outside of the Pirates. I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Brewers.
They got an underrated pitching staff.
They
Really
do.
under it. And they also added one of the best defensive infielders in baseball in Colton Wong. Colton Wong's a really good defender and a nice little stabilizing threat. Braves fans remember him for the 10 runs that they helped put on Atlanta back in 2019. Ralph, who you going with? NL Central real quick.
Sorry, Wendell. I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Cardinals. Yeah, I'm going Cardinals too. I'm going to buy into the hype train of the Cardinals. I guess I'll buy into their hype train. I think, Will, I do agree it'll be close. It's going to be a very, very close.
Cardinals win this one.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
The Cardinals got a lot better getting Arenado, but I think their pitching staff is not as deep as the Brewers. I think after Jack Flaherty, they have 4 question marks. Well, I guess Wainwright will be there, so 3 question marks.
And they'll
But
have
Wainwright
Dakota
is-
Hudson, who is
Yes,
a
Dakota
top
Hudson.
kind of guy. But it'll be interesting to see. Ralph, I'll start with you this time. NL West, who you taking? To me, it's a 2-horse race in this Western Division.
I'm just gonna give it to the Dodgers unless they get injured or have a big injury that hurts their team. It's the Dodgers, and they win 100+ games easily this year.
Mhm. Will, who are you going with? Dodgers,
I'm going-
Padres, Diamondbacks? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going Dodgers.
Dodgers. I'll be
But
different.
Giants,
I'm gonna,
Giants will be sneaky. Giants will be sneaky. I'm going Dodgers. Even if they get hurt, don't care. They have probably the best depth in baseball of any team at the minor league level, and
Especially that
the
bullpen.
players that can step up to the big league level and pick up right where the starters left off.
I'm going to go. Well, first off, I'll say the Giants. Yeah, they'll definitely be sneaky on their way to 75 wins, in my opinion, this season. Only because they have to play. You obviously they have to play the Dodgers and Padres more than anybody else
I
outside
think the
of their
Giants will be a very solid team.
Yeah, they're going to
But
be a
they're in a
75. Yeah, it's going to be tough. But 75 wins for the Giants team that's rebuilding, kind of post Buster Posey years. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because Buster Posey a fan favorite, not across all of baseball, but it's kind of cool.
It helps that the Rockies are in that division too. They'll get a lot of wins against them.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Trevor Story, Brendan Rodgers. Well, hopefully you guys can have fun. I'll go with I'm going to go Padres. I'm going to stick with my bold prediction. I think the Padres could put it together, and they could. If that rotation's firing on all cylinders, it could be unreal, like what they're doing out in Slam Diego. We're going to roll along to the American League. I'm not going to get into wild card right now. We'll go to American League because we can get more into the rules and what it's going to look like. Because listen, baseball's happening. American League East. Who you guys going with? Ralph, go first, real quick. Just state it. No explanation. I just want a city's name or a team name. Yankees. Will, who you going with?
Yankees.
Going Yankees as well. My bold prediction was Blue Jays, but I think realistically Yankees are going to win the East. They got a lot better. Central. Will, are you sticking with the White Sox?
Sticking with the White Sox. Think they're the best team in the Central.
Ralph, who you going with? AL Central.
Twins brought back the best designated hitter of all time to me, and that is Nelson Cruz, baby.
Ooh, that's a good one. David Ortiz would like to have a word with you, but that's fine.
Yeah, but he played a lot more first base.
Can the
than
Twins get
Cruz.
outs? That's my question.
Yeah.
Can the Twins get outs? They're pitching a lot of question marks.
Oh, I know.
AL West, I'm going to go White Sox as well. Might be a little biased, but I think White Sox, they got a fun team coming up there in the AAA ranks as well. Go out to the AL West. Who you gonna go for? Who you going for? Ralph, I'll start with you.
I was going to say it because I'm going to go Rangers.
Wow.
Ralph, when's the last time you looked at Texas's roster?
You know what? I'm just throwing a random prediction out there. I don't think
That's fine.
Houston's going to win it.
Instagram moment there,
That's
folks.
the Instagram moment.
That's an Instagram
Save it
moment.
till October at least because it's wrong.
Will, who are you going to – wow. Will, who are you just like a big Mike Fultonevich and Charlie Culberson fan? You're just going to say, yep, Rangers are winning the whole thing. Fulton's going to win the Cy Young? All right. Anyways,
I didn't say
Will.
that, but you're taking it out of my mouth.
Will, who are you going with AL West?
Going Astros. They're too deep and too good, and the rest of the division just hasn't done enough to catch up with them.
The A's are so interesting because every single year they have depth that no one knows about. I mean, they have some good players, but they got rid of the 247 batting average guy in Chris Davis, and I hate that because that guy could
Marcus
slam
Semien.
some home runs.
Marcus
Simeon's no longer in Oakland.
Liam Hendricks, who's on the White Sox.
He's also gone.
Yeah, he's on the White Sox. I'm going Angels. I think
What?
I listen, the
Please.
pitching staff is going to have
Angels.
to the pitching staff's going to have to cut. Well, that's not as outrageous as the Rangers, who
No,
are
it's
obviously
not.
in a
It's
rebuild.
not. I thought you were going to go A's.
No. Yeah, I love the A's, but they lost too much. And unless there's more there, to me, the Astros are the favorites. But I think the Angels would be the second best team, and I think they could challenge for a wild
Can
card
we please just get Mike Trout in the playoffs? Please.
Yeah,
I'm
please.
begging as a baseball fan. Please get Mike Trout in the playoffs. I want to see him
And-
play in October.
And what, a top 5, maybe top 3 third baseman in Anthony Rendon. I mean, that's they still have one of the best punches right there in Anthony Rendon. If the
He's
won a
pitching
World
staff
Series.
takes it back.
It's not
Yeah.
to say he's won a World Series.
And
Well,
Shohei
I'm
Ohtani.
saying that's a dominant 1-2 punch there with that lineup
Yes.
with
Yeah.
what they have going on. So obviously those teams are going to be, that's kind of our layout. We are running out of time here today. So we're just going to hit quickly, guys. I'm just going to talk about this real quick. It's that time of the year. College baseball and college softball have returned to the diamond. Softball with its opening day this past weekend, and baseball will open this weekend. Some news and notes from around the country. On the baseball end, Florida sits atop the rankings after a 16-1 start in a COVID-shortened season. They return a fantastic roster. The SEC is very well represented, guys, and we're going to go into more conversation specifically about this on Thursday. about kind of some previews of some teams. But Kumar Rocker and Mark Leiter, if that's Al Leiter's son, that is still at Vanderbilt, that is a dominant 1-2 punch up in Nashville for the Vandy boys. So we're excited to watch some college baseball. That kicks off this Friday.
Watch for Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Watch for Auburn. They're not in the preseason top 25, but I think a lot of that has to do with the shortened season last year and a lot of question marks. But there's still a lot of holdovers from that College World Series team from a few years ago. Watch for Auburn.
Auburn's going to be a well-coached, disciplined team as well.
And yes, I am biased, but watch for Auburn.
Auburn's going to be fun to watch. We're going to switch over to softball. They had their opening day. Ralph, I told Ralph this before the show. Will, I don't know if you caught this. On Thursday was kind of the official opening day for some preseason or some season opening tournaments. Oklahoma, one of the best teams in the country year in, year out, they shattered the home run record against UTEP. They won 29-0. And they hit 13 home runs. So that is unbelievable what the Sooners were able to do. Obviously, softball kicked off, or first pitch and all that happened last week. Going to be a fun time and a fun season for some teams around the area as well. Auburn softball, Georgia softball, some talented teams in the SEC that kicked off their season. So college sports are slowly but surely coming back. Final thoughts is where we're going to roll with this one, guys.
If you are local, one more thing on college baseball. If you're local, go out, try to make a Columbus State game. Mm-hmm. Cougars always have a strong team. They got a lot of guys back. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be really good this year.
They're going to be good, and that's not a knock on our intern Russell at all because he heads up a dominant pitching staff with Columbus State. So we're excited to see him out there. If they allow fans, I hope they do allow fans. We'll have to see. Final thoughts. This could take up about 10 to 15 minutes of programming, so we apologize for going over time, but this is a fun conversation. 2 weeks ago, we learned that the NCAA football video game was coming back. And I should correct myself because it's not called NCAA football. It's just EA Sports College Football. The key in that is they're still awaiting to see what happens. So I want to ask you guys this. Should players benefit from the new college football video game? Legislation was brought about 3 days afterwards from two Democratic senators that would bypass NCAA completely, giving players the rights, essentially eliminating NCAA. Now, if the NCAA was smart, they would say yes to this, give them the likeness, and say, we want to cut as well. Instead, when you look at this, guys, should players benefit from their likeness in this? We're not having a conversation if players should be paid to come and play a sport, but should they benefit? Should they get a cut from percentage of sales of this game when their being or their human self is being digitalized in a video game? Ralph, I'll start with Will.
I mean, I think I've started this for a while, and I've been saying this. Wait, what did you say?
I tricked you. I said, Ralph, I'll start with Will. I start with Will. No, you're good, Ralph. Keep going. Ralph, keep going. I was just messing. I was going to see how closely you guys are paying attention. That's an Instagram moment right there. He left the chat. Will, I'll start with you. Should they benefit? Not should they be paid to come play a sport at your school, but should they be able to benefit from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if somebody's going to use me for something, and especially if I don't know them and I know it's going to make a lot of money, yeah, I want to be paid for that because you're taking what I look like and putting it in a video game. Not only is that cool, but you're going to make a lot of money off of it because of me, partially because of me. So yeah, they should be paid because I would want to be paid. The players are the whole reason for this. They should be getting something, even if it's just. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit said it a couple of years ago. Even just a free copy of the game, something to pay them for being in the game.
Ralph, when you see this, like I said, we're not having the conversation of where players should be actually be paid a salary to come play a sport, but should they receive some type of benefit where, like you said, it's a game? Should that be allowed under and obviously there's the new NIL that is, being processed through our legislation to see what happens. But Ralph, when you see this, what do you think? Do you think that this is something they should be able to benefit from?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been saying it for years. If it brings back the game, let them pay them. Let them give them some kind of benefit for being in the game. I did say this though a few years ago. Is we can't have one team or one player getting more than other players. They can't benefit more from others because that's just not fair. I feel like. I mean, there's a lot of athletes in NCAA and Division I football. You can't hit every single one of them with an even, benefit. So if you made like a free copy of the game for everyone, that's perfect. I feel like I know a lot of people probably would want more, but you got to equal it out.
I think you're going to have to equal it out. We got some comments before I get to what I'm going to say. AJ Ingram with a couple. We're going to throw this one up. But will you give every player the same amount of money, or do the star players, will they be paid more? It's such a wild concept, a lot to think about. AJ, you hit the nail right on the head. That's the big problem. Mac Jones and Devontae Smith are going to have more advertising opportunities than, say, track and field at Alabama. And that's not a knock on that sport. It's just how it's marketed. And that's what the problem is with this. But if you give them the opportunity, Jackson Gordy with another one, they should receive a percentage. I'm guessing Jackson could only get in one word on the comment board. That's fine. We can get complete sentences next time. But, I think it's interesting to see kind of what it's going to kind of happen with that. We do have a comment I'm not going to put up there about the deer. If you can name what's on the deer, you are going to win a Chick-fil-A gift card. So, Ralph, don't tell them. They've got to be able to pick out the 3 items. That is what is on the deer. But I want to say this. Should players benefit from being in the college football game? To me, when you are being, like Will said, when you're being used to something that your talent and your God-given ability is making money, you should be rewarded in some way. And obviously you get the scholarship and all these things. But I think I'm not talking about paying a player a salary to play at your school. It's more of like if a school, this goes along with the thing, if Joe's Car Wash wants to have Mac Jones say, hey, come on down to Joe's Car Wash, he should have the ability to market himself and do that. You know what I'm saying? And let's say it's just free car washes, or it's 20% a discount, or he gets $100 every time something happens with it. They should have the ability to market themselves. Now, just straight paying players, that's a whole nother conversation. But I think it's going to be interesting to see. So, guys, we appreciate we went a little bit of overtime. We had some great conversation, in depth, from Gus Bus down to Orlando to a full-on Major League preview and what's going on with that, and then talking a little bit about some college athletics. We appreciate it. For Ralph and Will, I'm Bryce Coon. This has been another episode of the Crowded Booth Live. We will be back at you Thursday night, 7 p.m., same time, same